want to start, Kobe? Yeah, I'll go ahead. No, Dan. Oh, man.
Oh, man. No pressure.
I might stumble.
None. No pressure at all.
Well, fair enough. We'll kind of looking ahead, I guess, bigger picture. How I think, guys, how is Jalen doing? I guess, what's he physically able to do in terms of practicing? I know you said he didn't practice, but, just working on his own.
He got on the court today a little bit. Just obviously no contact stuff, has not practiced with us, but obviously moving forward, just going to see how he continues to respond to a little bit more and more as we ramp him up, but no timetable, obviously, for exactly where. Just going to continue to see how he responds to what they're asking him to do.
Not anticipate him traveling for tomorrow's game then?
Well, he's going to travel with us tomorrow.
More than likely.
Like I said, we're going to see how he responds to today's workouts and whatnot, and then kind of go from there.
I mean, come on.
Coach, just how unique is Draymond Green? I mean, have you really seen a player like him in your day? I mean, he's just so different from really anybody that's really ever played the game at his style.
He really is special. He's very unique in one, his care for the game, his knowledge of the game, and then just obviously the problems he creates out there on the floor. A selfless teammate trying to find guys all the time. The guys keep moving because he knows he's going to find them. It's interesting you say that because the other day I was listening to him on the podcast with the old man in the three, and he was just talking about the knowledge of the game and ball movement and guys just being able to share and push for one another. And that's his basketball IQ is so high. And then that other side of his competitive nature just takes over in games too as well.
Coach Melissa Thomas with Florida National News, kind of piggybacking off of that on the Orlando side. When you first came, a lot of the guys were talking about the importance of like the culture that you were instilling in them. So I wanted to find out at this point in the season, are you still instilling certain like motivational things with them on a regular basis? And if so, like what kind of books or what kind of videos, what are you doing with them?
It doesn't stop. Obviously, no matter what's going on throughout the year, you want to keep these guys growing and learning and understanding exactly the foundation that we're laying. And for me, it's always shown in how they respond. It's always shown in the way that they're encouraging each other. And so whether that's a book or a quote or a text message about an old quote from Kobe, a quote from Michael Jordan, a quote about loving the game, a quote about continuing to work no matter what's happening in life or on the court. You continue to share those things with these guys so they understand. Obviously, it's bigger than basketball, but they also understand when we come to work every day, it's about getting work done.
Jamahl, Chris Cuff, 24 Flicks. Two questions. Number one, who's starting tonight? Number two, since you went back, talked about the team, what about you looking in the mirror? What kind of, from the beginning of the season to now, look at yourself and your growth through the season? There certainly have been a lot of trials and tribulations.
Well, first of all, we're going to start with Cole Anthony, R.J. Hampton, Franz Wagner, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr. That'll be our starters for the night. As for reflection of throughout the year, it's been continuous learning, how to help these guys get better. And like at the question you asked is, how do we find different ways of doing that? Leaning in on the staff. And I said that from the beginning. It's going to be about leaning in on the staff, the organization. How do we build each other up and lift each other up every single day? And I think we talk about that's why the energy in the building and the spirit of these guys is so good, is because we're all trying to lift one another up. We're not skipping steps in building and creating a foundation. We're continuing to lift one another up to do the right thing and do it the right way. And when I look in the mirror every morning, I ask the same question that I did when I got the job. How do I serve? How do I help these guys become the best version of themselves, the players as well as the staff?
With Jalen, he's obviously picked up quite a few injuries over the course of the season. He's obviously a highly competitive guy, but at some point, do you consider maybe holding him out with so few games left to ensure maybe he's 100% healthy heading into the offseason?
Well, he and I actually just had a very good conversation a moment ago about just being able to his competitive nature and what he wants to do and being around the team. And I think for that young man, I think playing is the thing that he loves to do the most. Being around his teammates is what he loves to do the most in these situations. So again, we'll focus on his health, which is obviously the biggest thing. And if he's healthy to go, then we'll have him out there on the court ready to play.
You mentioned earlier that the passing, the Golden State's passing has been one of the more underrated parts of their system since Kerr's taken over. Because how much did that maybe influence your own offensive philosophies, even when you were in Dallas? And if not them, who have been the biggest influences on your offensive philosophies?
Well, that's a good question. I really think that the pass is obviously, to me, it's the biggest thing in the game. On offense, obviously, just being able, the ball moves faster than bodies can. And I think that's what our guys, we try to help them understand. The more you dribble, the better defenses are. And if we can find a way to come off of it without the thought, that's why you've heard us from the beginning say decision making. How do we get these young guys as great decision makers? And I think that's part of it. The pass, when to make the pass, how to make the pass, on time, on target. If you're open, shoot it. If you're not, move it. And if they're jamming you close enough, drive it. But then comes more decision making. But what they've done over there in the ability to just move the ball without a thought is just, it's obviously tremendous, but it starts with, the leadership of, Steph is that way as well.
I guess, how much do you put chemistry, I guess, into the equation too? Because, sometimes if you don't have the chemistry, that can lead to, almost for you guys, like early season, a lot of turnovers, a lot of maybe passes not being as accurate or where they need to be. Like, how much does the chemistry need to be built in order to be able to play that kind of style?
I think it's one of those situations that you have to look at which comes first. You're going to have to play together. You're going to have to turn it over some. You're going to have to go through those lulls to understand how you get better. So you can go back and look at help these guys make these decisions. So you have to go through those turnovers. You have to go through the little bumps on the head and the bumps in the road. Cause you got to remember they weren't always that level. Right. So they had to go through that process of turning it over, of falling down, of going through injury, of bouncing back, of figuring all these things out, creating that chemistry between Draymond and Clay and Steph and Andre. They had to create that at some point. And so it just took time though.
Christos Saltis on Zoom.
Hello, coach. Hope you're doing well. What do you expect to see from your players, speaking about the physicality, especially in the front court with Mo and Wendell?
I expect to see them continue to be physical presence in the paint, being able to set solid screens, active, aggressive rolling to the rim, and then obviously finishing around the rim, and then defensively being able to protect at the rim in the paint.
Maria from Tab Desportes.
Hi, Coach. Hope you're well. You were mentioning the words growth, development, and also learning. So on that perspective, what would you like to see from your guys when facing a top team like the Warriors?
Well, the number one thing for us, I'd like to see our level of compete and fight against a very good Warriors team. And then just obviously to seeing the pace of the game in which the Warriors play, being able to sit down and guard, understanding how we have to pressure the ball smartly, our weak side coming over, protecting the paint, just continue to do the things that we've harped on and made a focal point of protecting the rim and getting out to shooters.
All right. Thank you, Coach Mosley.
Thank you, guys.